excited about the next game here, 11. Now, I am kind of a sports neutral person. I don't think sports are bad. There are some sports that I like a lot, like baseball. And I also think soccer is a pretty good sport, or football. Oh, look at this. Hello. I think this is what they made the box for, so you can do stuff like this and take pictures. But anyhow, but what's really fascinating to me about over than just sports, and by the way, sports does not make a great game. If you asked me to do my top 10 soccer games, I would be very hard-pressed to do so. Because football is a very fast-paced sport. As you're kicking the ball around and everything, it's hard to put that into a board game. But this, you're the manager of the game. And I like that aspect, so I was pretty pumped about this one. And honestly, there's a lot going on. So this is a fairly involved game. As you go through the rule book, there is which is a pretty hefty rule book here with a lot of different rules. You are basically getting some people. First, you have a board that you put in front of you, and then you're hiring staff, and you're building up parts of your stadium, and you're hiring players and firing players and training players, and you do all this, and then you play a game. And then you see who wins or loses that game, and you go back to the next round, and you go through, and you're going to get points for how well your team does over the season. That, theme-wise, is absolutely fantastic, and I'm a big fan of that. But there's several problems with it. First of all, the board. I really dislike this. It seems so neat an idea for me. You have these 3 different board members in front of you, and each of these board members is going to vote a different way on an issue, and then you roll a die, and so if I roll a 1 and 2 of my board members have yellow on 1, but one of them has red, then yellow is the issue they vote for. Well, first of all, that sounds cool, but then I thought about, I don't really have any agency here. My agency was picking these guys at the beginning. Secondly, you turn over these event cards each round, and these guys vote on it, and it just feels like some random event thing that happens. In this very strategic game, each round starts off with sometimes some really random thing that happens. And yes, there are ways to re-roll the die, but it still just feels random luck. I didn't like that. Then the next part of the game I really enjoy, as I'm hiring trainers and building a stadium, and you get these 3 different discs, and there is definitely confusion that what do green discs do, what do red discs do? Because they're resources. Yellow discs, they're money, and that's easy to remember because yellow is gold. But the other 3, green, red, and blue, it's not easy to remember what they do, and they can be used in different spots in different places. And I found that to be confusing, but the rest of it, hiring people, taking actions, having extra actions on your staff, that's all neat. Then we get to the game itself. And in the game, you're going to be flipping over a card so you set up your players on your team, and you'll have basically a bunch of generic players, but as the game goes by, you'll get a few veteran players and stuff, and then you need to be able to afford to field them. But you get your team out, you put them in positions, and by the way, very poor rules talking about how to do all this. Then you flip over the card and you see how the enemy does, and then you go through this very boring process of comparing each section of the field of the enemy team with your team and seeing who scored goals, and it is mind-numbingly boring. It feels random as all get out because you're like, oh, this team's going to do a lot of shooting or something. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, you meant from the right side. I put my defenders on the left. You're just guessing. And the game is so boring and unfun, it ruins it. I have played 11 multiple times, and each time I'm going through that first round, I remember, and I'm like, I forgot, this part is very interesting. Then we get to the game, and it's deflating every time. I almost wish the game wasn't there. I know that you need the game, or else all the other stuff you do doesn't matter, but I wish there was a way they could have even more reduced the game, because it really brings the game down. I have to give 11 a 5 out of 10 because I don't like it. I wanted to enjoy all these different things, managing your staff members, yes, and expand your stadium infrastructure, unleash the potential of your players. I'm great. They have a series of expansions for this. There's a lot of cool ideas in it, but it's got to be fun at some point. And it reminds me a lot. So there have been a TV show, Studio 99 or whatever it was called, about these people putting on a comedy show, and it was a very interesting show until they showed the comedy skits, and you're like, but the skits themselves aren't very funny. That's how this is. It's like, it's all about playing soccer. Focus on that part, but when it comes to the actual playing soccer, I would have left that to a different game. So anyway, that's 11. And that's it, folks. I'm Tom Vasel, and that's my roundup for this week. Until next time, you've been watching the Dice Tower.